So with Valentine's being this Monday, and thus by default this weekend being Valentine's Day weekend, I wanted to talk about basically some of my favorite Valentine's Day couples, basically romantic couples as far as fiction goes and everything. And I think I should just start off with probably one of the more recent favorites of mine, of course, that being Spike and Rarity. And I know a lot of folks would say that's not really a couple, they're not really an item and all that. And you, like I said before, you have a right to your opinion. But, you know, just the way they set it up from beginning to end, if you will, I thought was cute. It was adorable, it was cute. And I like the fact that they just didn't, you know, blow it off after season 2 or some of the moments we would get like throughout season 3, 4, and 5. I'm glad they didn't do that. I mean, yeah, they cooled down a little bit, and that's okay, but I'm glad they didn't totally blow it off. And when we got into the later seasons, especially the ones written by Nicole, executively produced by Nicole Dubuque, what I'm trying to say, you know, we saw it kind of get back onto the ascension. We saw it start to kind of get the spotlight put back on it, and I appreciated that. I really did. Along with a lot of folks, we all appreciated that, because when you get down to it, you know, if there's gonna be some kind of romance, you know, within the main group of characters, even if it's not, you know, an official romance like what we saw with Sugar Belle and Big Mac, if you will, you know, even if it's not going to be an official romance, it's nice to have a little kind of a little bit of a sweetheart kind of deal there. I mean, the fact that, you know, when you look at the moments that, you know, kind of really hammered, I wouldn't say necessarily hammered home, but really just sent the message that this is kind of a cute little like relationship to where these two could potentially end up together, but we're not, you know, making it so obvious, even though we are, if you know what I mean. I thought it was a good move. I thought it was a good move for them to do that. And you look at the fact that, like I said, later on in the later seasons, you know, you have Spike, you know, not only kind of reaffirming that he still has a thing for Rarity, but you have it to the point to where, you know, he still wants to spend time with her, but he's willing to also kind of put that aside to spend time with others. I mean, Dragon Drop is probably the best example there. And to me, as a lot of people pretty much have looked at, Dragon Drop was, I would assume, the way of kind of indicating that maybe there was something more between them afterwards, when it was all said and done. Because it was basically the classic story of, okay, here's the female friend that just wants to be close friends, but now she's suddenly getting jealous out of her male friend spending more time with this other female friend, and she's wondering possibly, or even the viewer, you're wondering what's going on, and then it kind of, you know, comes to fruition or to conclusion that basically the reason she's acting the way she is because of the fact that she's jealous that the love this character has for her, these affections this character has for her, is going towards somebody else, and now it's waking her up and making her realize that maybe in reality she did see, or she does see potentially, or consider potentially the male counterpart as more than just a friend. And Dragon Drop was a good example of that. It had a good message and everything at the end, but it was a good example. And the way they ended it, I thought was great. I thought it was great. I mean, it insinuates that there's still more between them. It really does. And then of course you have, you know, the special in between season 8 and 9, which is Best Gift Ever, and you know, the way they had, you know, Spike's situation there and how it concluded there. I mean, there was a lot of indications that, you know, this was a romance, but not the kind of romance that was always in your face and everything, constantly on a daily basis. It was indicated that there was something more there between them that would eventually, you know, probably evolve, you know, into something more beyond friendship. And all it really was up to, you know, the viewers, to the fans, to kind of come to their own conclusion as, you know, what exactly happened. I mean, you look at the comics; they do the same. They kind of do the same thing, if you will. Especially one of the more recent holiday annuals that they did was a story with Spike and Rarity together. You know, Spike escorting her to all these parties and stuff, which I thought was great. They didn't have to do it, but they did. You know, Spike coming to her aid along with everybody else at the conclusion of the Nightmare Rarity arc. You know, and saying what he did. I mean, there was just too much all around, too much evidence all around to indicate that, you know, the close friendship they had was not going to become something more than what it was. And like I said, from an animated standpoint, they really kind of, you know, indicated that that was the potential direction they would go in, despite how others might feel. And just all that together is why, you know, to start off this little video, you know, why, you know, I look at Spike and Rarity, you know, Sparity for short, if you will, as one of my favorite couples, one of my favorite ships, if you will, especially around this time of year, because it's cute, it's adorable, and even though, despite how you view, read, watch, you know, Friendship is Magic, even though now we're going into Generation 5, there's no denying that there was a lot of hints there. There was just too many hints that there was something probably more than friendship between the two. But again, this being Friendship is Magic, they didn't really emphasize on it too much. They just gave the moments here and there to kind of basically, you know, leave the interpretation of the situation up to the viewers, up to the fans, and I'm glad they did that. I mean, would it have been nice if we would have gotten something official? Oh, absolutely. But I like the fact that they did it this way because it doesn't take away from the premise of what the show is really about, if you catch my drift. So yeah, I really liked it, and I really liked it. I like the ship, especially around this time of year. And to really like hammer home a little bit, you know, how popular this ship is, you could talk about it all you want, you know, no matter who you are. You could show your love for it no matter who you are, and fans, a majority of the fans will comment on it in a positive way. I mean, for example, George Garza, if you will, here on YouTube. He's a Sparity fan. He's done some animations, if you will, of Sparity, Spike and Rarity together. And now he's even incorporated it into basically Equestria Girls. You know, he's incorporating what he views as a potential human incarnation of Spike crushing on the human Equestria Girls version of Rarity. And honestly, I'm surprised they never went there. I'm surprised they never, for even a temporary moment, you know, just like they did in a recent book, you know, exclusive to Finland, but hopefully will go international soon. I'm surprised they didn't go the direction of having Dog Spike, you know, get temporarily turned into a human and, you know, go from there, you know, between him and Rarity. I'm surprised they didn't do that. I don't know if we get any moments in the Finland book, and the Finnish book, if you will, where he temporarily turns into a pony, but I'll have to look it up and see. You know, maybe some of you guys can let me know down in the comments and in the live chat during this premiere. But yeah, overall though, you have, you know, fans like George Gaza going, you know, to those links to say, hey, I love this ship so much that I want to incorporate it into Equestria Girls and how I would view Spike being presented there. And he does a very good job, in my opinion. He does a very good job. There's no doubt. Alright, so to follow that up, as I check something here, okay, we're about 9:10. To follow that up now around, let's see, let's get to it. Let's follow that up now at 9 minutes 20 seconds with another favorite of mine, that of course being obviously Sonic and Sally. I mean, there is no doubt, in my opinion, that when you talk about Sonic the Hedgehog overall franchise and everything, that one of the first things people talk about when it comes to romance in Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, the overall franchise, the first thing they'll talk about or bring up is his relationship, his romance with Sally. And this is a romance that has, you know, been around since the beginning. And of course, it's had its detractors. There's no doubt. And sometimes they'd be right in how, and be, what I'm trying to say is, sometimes they would be right in, feeling the way they do. Because of the way, like in the comics, she would be portrayed depending on the writers. But overall, when I look at this relationship between the two, it's one of those long-lasting relationships that no matter how you feel about it, that they work out perfectly for each other, that they are the best foils for each other. There is no doubt. I mean, Sonic knows how to, understand where Sally's coming from, knows how to kind of push buttons sometimes, and everything, and Sally the same way. She knows where Sonic's coming from, she knows how to push buttons with him, and they just work out fine with each other. I mean, they play off each other very, very well. I mean, one of the common tropes in the Satyam cartoon back in the 90s was there's a couple of scenes where Sally and Sonic, where Sally wants Sonic to be patient for a second, or to listen for a moment, or for a minute or so, or Sally has Nicole and she's like, Nicole, do this, and you have Sonic just going like this and tapping his fingers or looking at his watch and all that, because Sonic, he's all about speed. He's like, hey, let's get it done, let's go kind of deal, right? And one of the things that really, makes people fans of the ship is, like I said, the way they play off each other. I mean, as I was trying to allude to there's a scene, I think, in season 1 where, Sally asks Sonic if you, I think it's it's season 1, I believe, where Sally is asking Sonic, will you be serious for a minute, or will you listen for a minute? And then Sonic's looking at his watch going, 30 seconds is my limit. Because, again, he's all about go, speed. But in the end, like I said, no matter what the scenario, they complement each other very well. It's like when, I mean, here's the thing. I like the fact that Sally, doesn't, hold anything against Sonic at times, because she knows Sonic's just being himself. He's just being himself because, hey, he's got this speed, and he sometimes lets it go to his head and doesn't realize, oh, okay, I do need to listen, or I do need to slow down. I like that. I like the fact that she doesn't hold too much against him, because she knows this is just who he is. I can't stop that. I can't really stop him from being himself. All I could do is try to get him to listen and take things seriously, even if I have to speed through it to explain it to him or something like that. So I like that dynamic with her and Sonic. And Sonic's the same way. Sonic knows how to comfort her. He knows how to be serious at times. Like in Blast of the Past, when she's getting ready to see her father for the first time since his disappearance, Sonic's the one that comforts her. He says, you've been waiting for this moment and everything to settle down. And this is coming from Sonic. It's like, to chill, settle down. You've been waiting for this moment. And then even when she's on the verge of tears a little bit, knowing that this is something she's been waiting for, Sonic puts his arm around her and it's like, don't worry, he's going to be way past. And there you go. And in the comics, there's many examples where they have just discussions and, they understand each other, or basically they understand where each other is coming from. They understand, how to be there for each other and kind of be like, hey, I get where you're coming from, and here's what I have to say about it, or basically give their own view of it, or give, kind of encouragement and stuff. So I like it. I like that kind of stuff between the two, and it shows that when you have that kind of dynamic, no matter what interpretation of the characters you will watch or read, you'll understand at the end of the day that they are one of the best romantic couples out there. There is no doubt about it. They are one of the best romantic couples out there, end of story. End of story. And I think a lot of fans know that. A lot of fans, whether they like the ship or they don't, they know that. And, there's no denying it. There is no denying. I mean, Doomsday, to me, the conclusion of Doomsday, the climactic moment in Doomsday Project, the final episode of Season 2, I think is probably the best example. Because here you have Sonic once again being like, no way, you can't go with me, Sally, because you're going to slow me down. out after they get the power stones. And Sally's like, once we connect the stones, and Sonic's like, what's this wee stuff? And she's like, well, I'm going to go with you. And Sonic once again tries to say, you know, like he did before, no way, you're going to slow me down. She puts her hand over his mouth to shut him up and said, and basically emphasizes, we are in this together, no matter what happens. In other words, she's telling him right there that she loves him. That she wants to be by his side no matter the situation because she loves him. And then when Sonic hears this, it just dawns on him finally, like, oh, okay, I understand now. I understand now. You know, I mean more to you than just as a friend. And it wakes up that romantic side of him of, you know what? You know, I get it. I get it now. This is why you want to be here. Because if we fail, we fail together. You know. So I love that moment. I really do. And it's a great moment. It really is. You know, it really is. So to me, Sonic and Sally, there's no doubt. You want a good example of a long-term, you know, relationship even with ups and downs, you know, in a comic book or animation or whatever. Sonic and Sally is the best example in my opinion. Number three, in my opinion, I have to go back to Archie. I have to go with Bunnie and Antoine, because speaking of long-time relationships, especially as far as the comic is concerned, this is a good example of it. And this is a good example of a relationship even surviving, you know, false identity, if you know what I mean, or mistaken identity. Because here's a relationship that was hinted at, you know, happening, I think around the early to mid 20th issues while the comic was under the Archie roof. You know, it was hinted at there, and then around, I think, what was it, 46, it really came to fruition. It really came to fruition where Bunnie goes after Antoine, and that's when the moment happens. That's when the moment happens, and it's a moment that a lot of fans were not expecting, but in the end appreciated. And the way the relationship was built between these two in the comic, despite whether it was Ken Penders, whether it was Carl Bowlers, despite it being, you know, whoever else, you know, Ian Flynn, Evan Stanley, Aaliyah Baker, this relationship was built properly. And not only built properly, but done in a way that made the Bunnie and Antoine ship probably one of the more popular ships out there. No questions asked. No questions asked. I mean, like I said earlier, you know, this is one of those examples of a relationship that's, you know, survived false/mistaken identity due to the fact that between post, what was it? Was it no, it was 125 at the end of, so I think it was like post 130 or post 129. Yeah, post 129, 130, if you will. This is a relationship that survived from 129, from what we found out later on, 129, or post 129, 130 if you will. This is a relationship that lasted from issue 130 to issue 156, false identity. And you know, for one, you're thinking, well, what do you mean? You know, well, what I'm trying to say is, for one, you might be thinking, if you haven't, you know, seen or read what I'm talking about, basically, when you look at, you know, these 26 issues, 130 to 156, there is an issue where Sonic gets tossed into what is known as Moebius, anti-Mobius. And he's mistaken to be his doppelganger, because his doppelganger puts, you know, his leather jacket on him and everything, so he's mistaken to be his doppelganger. And his former group, the anti-freedom fighters, or the suppression squad, or whatever they call themselves, wanted to do him in, each and every one of them. And one of the members of that squad, or that group, was Patch, or or otherwise known as Evil Antoine or Anti-Antoine. And it's during this issue where you see the thought bubbles of the evil one, the evil Antoine, wondering, wait a minute, could this be my Sonic? Could this be the Sonic from my world? And then that's when it starts to trickle in on you, like, wait a minute, what's he talking about? And then when it's all said and done, and you reread that issue in that moment, you're like, holy crap, that Antoine that broke up with Bunnie, that's not the real deal. That's Patch. It dawns on you. Like, after you read that issue and you reread that moment several times over, that's when it dawns on you what is going on the Mobius Prime world with Antoine there, that's not the real Antoine. However, in story, the characters don't know that. The characters don't know that until we get to about 156. And when we get to 156, and there's a lot of things that have led up to this moment. Sally and Elias's parents go on this world tour, to like be peacemakers, ambassadors, whatever. And what many of the characters and even the viewers at the time think is Antoine, he goes with them. But when they come back, we find out that, the king has been poisoned, but they don't know what happened. And it's later revealed, like I said, you go back and read that issue, and then you fast forward to about like 6 issues later, you realize that it was all a plan by evil Antoine, aka Patch, anti-Antoine, if you will, to not only gain control through marriage to Sally, Allie and everything, but to become king. Well, that's basically what it was, to gain control, become king, and rule with an iron fist, if you will. And basically, like I said, it isn't until this issue, because as viewers, after reading the issue that I talked about, we're pretty much in the know that, hey, this isn't the real Antoine on Mobius Prime. That's his counterpart, his evil doppelganger. But the characters in the story don't know this until 156. Because Elias comes back. He basically is talked to by Sonic. Elias at first doesn't want to do this or anything. But then I think at the encouragement of his wife, the encouragement of his wife and somewhat the kid that she's holding, he musters up the courage to basically come back to New Mobotropolis. And just when it looks like, Sally and Patch, or as the characters thought at the time, evil Antoine was going to assume power, that's when Elias comes in and says, I'm basically advocating for my right to the throne. Because he has the right. He may have put himself in exile, but as a prince, as the oldest, he's the second in line. So he advocates justifiably for the fact that he's the one that should be next. He wants to take control, because even he finds, when he thinks about it, and I think at the encouragement of his wife, even he realizes, hey, something's not right here. Why is our dad sick, and why is Sally going to be marrying Antoine? This don't make sense, right? So, he comes back, advocates justifiably for his right to the throne, gets it, and this basically causes Patch's plans to go awry, but he still figures, you know what? It may have caused me to change up things, but I'm still determined to get power. So just when it looks like he's about to shake his hand, and as a result, he has this hypodermic hypodraulic needle hidden there to stab Elias with. Sonic notices that needle sticking out, tackles him, and then finally puts 2 and 2 together. Puts 2 and 2 together, and says that even, out of everybody, especially Bunnie, couldn't understand where you got that scar. He's able to put 2 and 2 together and realize, you ain't our Antoine. You're the evil doppelganger. I'm taking you back to your world, and I'm bringing back our real deal. And by bringing back the real deal, after figuring it all out, here's what's interesting. Bunnie, the moment Sonic says, hey, I got a surprise for you, and Bunnie sees it, her and Antoine immediately embrace and kiss, and just resume as if nothing happened. Just resume after nothing happened. And then, of course, about 17 issues later, Antoine proposes to her, and about 18 issues later, or at least the issue after that, in 174, they get married. And even after, if you will, the whole situation with the Mecha Sally deal and Bunnie being crystallized and being decrystallized, and it causes her to be de-roboticized, and Antoine being blown up, and put into a coma, which Ian Flynn at one point said he was the goal of that was to kill off Antoine, if you will. That didn't happen. That didn't sit well. And even through the retcon and reboot, which thanks to Nicole, the Lynx, the portable AI back in the cartoon, being like the Deus Ex Machina, the key to restoring memories, they once again assumed the relationship and their marriage. I mean, you talk about a romance that, again, like Sonic and Sally, has gone through its ups and downs, but more so of the downside of mistaken identity just to rise up. Bunnie and Antoine's is probably the best example I can think of out of that, and that is why it is my third favorite couple to talk about here in this video, because of that alone. And it shows that romance can survive no matter what the scenario. Alright, so the next one I want to talk about, I know it's a little strange to go this route, but I want to talk about one from Rescue Rangers. And I want to talk about, and I know nothing official has happened, if you will, excuse me, even though the comics, the Boom Studio comics under Ian Brill, when he wrote the stories, tried to make it official, or at least semi-official. I want to talk about another relationship besides that one. One that I felt, and I still believe to this day, Disney wanted to go with, or Disney was planting the seeds for down the line in their own way, to probably be concluded in the original plans to do an animated theatrical film. And of course I want to talk about Dale and Gadget. Now I know people might say Dale and Gadget were not a thing. That's true. But when you really go back and you re-watch the episodes, which, oh by the way, all 65 episodes are now not just available on Disney Plus, but they're also available on Blu-ray for the first time. Right now as a Disney Movie Club exclusive, and then officially as of this Tuesday in retail stores everywhere and online at places like Amazon. The thing is when you look at all those moments in the show, in many of the episodes, to me it's almost like Disney was planting the seeds, like Tad Stones and the people behind the show, writing and everything, were planting the seeds for these two to become an item. Because one of the subtropes, if you will, well, not subtropes, but one of the subplots, in the show was, from a fan perspective, and maybe even from a personal character perspective, in story, one of the sub-arcs was, who would Gadget choose between Chip and Dale? Who would she choose? Because just like in the classic Two Chips and a Miss, you had Chip and Dale constantly trying to not only fight, but outdo each other to impress Gadget, to hopefully win her heart. And she could say, so-and-so's my boyfriend now, and go from there. But she never did that. We never got I would say we never got a proper conclusion to that whatsoever, or a proper answer. But I think a lot of fans, whether they want to admit it or not, would admit that there were so many hints in the series itself, and somewhat in the comics as well. Whether it was the Marvel version of the comics or the Disney Adventure version of the comics or whatever, a lot of fans have to admit there were so many hints out there that they were planning to do something. They were planning to go somewhere with this pairing. Now, some would say, well, we don't really know that, Brian. There's some evidence, merchandise-wise, that would indicate Chip and Gadget. And I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that whatsoever. I think that's a great pairing too. But when you compare, ship hints, if you will, between characters, Dale and Gadget had more than Chip and Gadget. End of discussion. End of discussion, period. I mean, Cattery's not included. Yes, that started with Chip, complimenting Gadget and her kind of being, giving him that, like, flirtatious look, like, ooh, okay, there's something there. And then Dale taking advantage and her still kind of, like, being in that mood. And then Dale beside himself is a good example, especially, when she thinks it's Dale and she's coaxing him to sit down and relax, and then she hugs the real Dale at the end. And then what else? What are the episodes? We also have what's another one? Chocolate chips, when she's impressed that Dale's going to try to do his best to try to not be so obsessed with eating sweets and all that, or eating chocolate and all that. What else? What is another one? Kiwi's big adventure, where she thinks he's injured and everything, but it's just a ploy, and even she's a little upset by him, but she's obviously willing to forgive him real quickly. What else? Of course, Double O Chipmunk. We can't deny that. Double O Chipmunk. Song of the Nightingale. I mean, come on. There's just so many. RoboCat. I mean, again, there's just so many moments in there. I mean, and look. And look, you can deny the interaction between the two in the SS Drainpipe. But let's be honest. They could have gone, the writers could have gone a different direction. The writers could have gone a different direction, okay? They could have done something else, but they didn't. They had these two teamed up together. I mean, come on, seriously. You could have gone with Chip and Dale, if you will. Chip dressed up as a mole or whatever, and Dale's dressed up as one as well because of his imagination and all that. Or the conscious, that's his favorite hero, telling him to do so. I mean, come on, SS Drainpipe. I don't think there's no denying exactly, what they could have changed and everything to make it different, but they didn't. The thing I'm getting at, and Carpet Snaggers too. Carpet Snaggers too. That part where he catches her. She's climbing down this what looks like a pearl necklace, and you got a little bit of a light breeze blowing in it, and Dale's telling her to be careful, and all of a sudden she loses her grip thanks to the wind, and he's like, boink, just catches her, and she compliments it, and she kind of flirtatiously thanks him for doing so, and everything, and it's like, okay, where did that come from, right? Oh, wolf in a sheep's clothing. A wolf in sheep's clothing. Let me explain this one, and it's on here on my channel somewhere. It's a little clip, but a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay. That episode towards the end, Gadget is rewiring and modifying. What is it? What's the word I'm trying to think of? Transmogrifier. I think that's what it's called. The transmogrifier. She's rewiring it, and actually she says, "Hey, okay, I've rewired it. Everything's done." And then she's like, and then she's basically like saying, "Well, by the way, the circuitry or whatever it was kind of simple and everything." And as soon as she says that, you get this little spark, right? After she's like resetting the transmogrifier, and she's like saying, "Oh, the wires were kind of," it's like, actually the schematics or whatever were kind of simple. The moment she says that, you get this little spark, right? And all of a sudden, as soon as it happens, it literally causes her to jump back, right? And instead of jumping into someone's arms like Monterey or Chip, who's the one that she jumps into? Dale. And I'm thinking, is that a secret pro D&G moment that they just put in there? Because, again, here's the thing. Dale this is another situation where part of the story is Dale is so much into all this comic book nonsense and everything, right? Monsters and all that, sort of representing us. And you would think in this moment, just to kind of play off the fact that, okay, Dale has this love of monsters and everything, and it's just causing everything to be amiss, right? Anyway, you'd think they would have her jump maybe to the side to Monterey, or jump over and into Chip's arms, right? Doesn't happen. She jumps into Dale's. And I'm thinking, despite the story plot line, if you will, I'm like, did they secretly put a D&G moment in there? I'm just saying. The thing is, guys, when you get down to it, these two are, perfect are a perfect pairing, in my opinion. They are just a perfect pairing. There is no doubt. And to me, I think honestly, there was enough evidence out there that, in my opinion, through the cartoon and the comics and whatever, that they were probably going to put these two together. you know, when the original ideas to do the animated film were going to happen. I just get this feeling. Now, I don't know if Tad Stones would ever admit that, but I just get this feeling, and I think a lot of fans would agree with that as well. But that's why it's one of my other favorite couples. Now, to conclude this, I only want to list off 5. To conclude this, let's talk about probably one of my favorite Disney couples. And it's not Mickey and Minnie, it's not Donald and Daisy, because that's like an entirely different video on its own. I gotta go with one that, honestly, both are great characters. And I don't know how Disney did it, but they did it. And I'm going with Aladdin and Jasmine. I am. I mean, you talk about two characters from the word go, are perfect for each other, compatible with each other. You know, are no nonsense. They will tell it like it is. Adventurous, wanting to prove people wrong. These two, Aladdin and Jasmine, I think are probably the best out there. They are the best. And I know I might get some flack for that. But think about how they're showcased, not just in the movie, the first movie, but also in Return of Jafar, also King of Thieves, in the show itself. So many moments I cannot think of just one. I cannot think of just one that really just emphasizes how well-rounded this relationship between the two are. And I love the fact that you just don't have them married off at the end of the film, which was kind of hinted at or teased at a little bit. I love the fact that you use the follow-up film Return of Jafar as the pilot to the series itself, and the movie King of Thieves, to build that relationship up and get to that conclusion in King of Thieves that everybody's been wanting to see. I love that. I really do. And I love the fact that they have to go through obstacles and everything even to make that happen. But I love that. I love the fact that you have Jasmine supportive in King of Thieves of Aladdin to try to find her father and even coming to his defense. So I enjoy that. Again, there is not one thing that I can't think of that I'm mentioning or could mention that, you know, would not justify these two being one of the best couples that Disney has ever done. I can't. I think even the live-action film tried to do their best to really replicate that as well. And I haven't seen the live-action film yet, surprisingly. But from what I understand, it looks like they may have done a decent job there too. But to me, when it comes to couples that match up perfectly, you know, understand each other, are there for each other, are willing to kick ass when they need to, Aladdin and Jasmine, to me, is the best choice in my opinion. One of the best choices. And I got to give Disney credit for bringing them together and bringing them to life, period. But anyway, though, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to do these 5 pairings, if you will, that, from my opinion, I think are some of the best that Disney, well, not just Disney, but overall from an animation, fictional standpoint, that you can ask for. I mean, Spike and Rarity, Sonic Sally, Bunnie, Antoine, Dale, Gadget, Aladdin, Jasmine. I know there's many more out there I could list, and I'll probably do something later on. But guys, I just wanted to come on here and do this real quickly to list off 5 right off the top of my head that I am truly a big-time fan of and would support to the end of time. But who are your favorites? Which out of the 5 are your favorites personally? Who do you think I should list off maybe next time? Overall, let me know down below in the comments and the live chat during the premiere, where super chats and super stickers are opened and would be appreciated. As well as let me know, like I said, in the live chat, in the comments below, I should say, as well as check me out at my Teespring store. Also check me out at BW Rose's Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses to support me with a $1 or $3 tier. Also check me out at VENMO at BW Roses and at Venmo at Brian-Warmer-2 to help support me there as well. But again, guys, which ones out of the 5 that I mentioned are your favorites? And are there any I could have mentioned that I should talk about later on in the future? Let me know down below in the comments and in the live chat during the premiere, where super chats and super stickers, like I said, are open and would be appreciated. And until next time, guys, I am out.